Good morning, everyone. Again, this is David Nicholson from ARCHIBUS. Welcome to a webcast for what's new in ARCHIBUS version 21.3. I'm here with my colleague Jay Shaw and Shlomo Moran from Robotech, and we are getting ready to get started. There is just a couple things to mention, and they may be re-mentioned by Jay, but there will be chat questions available. You can post those to me during the course of the webcast, and we'll answer them at the end. We'll have a brief introduction by Robotech at the very beginning, and then Jay will get started with the presentation. So in the interest of time, I'm going to turn it over to Jay right now, and he can get started and get into the material as soon as possible. Everyone is muted on entry, so that way we reduce background noise. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Thanks a lot, David. Good morning, everyone, for joining this session on what's new in ARCHIBUS version 21.3. Just to quickly introduce myself, my name is Jay Shah. I'm one of the sales engineers at ARCHIBUS. I have been in this company for over 2.5 years now. It has been an amazing experience. And what I do on a daily basis is I try to understand clients' needs and offer them solutions so that they can overcome those challenges. Again, I would like to thank everyone for joining this session. So let's quickly kick off by talking about today's agenda. The agenda is divided into 4 main sections. The first section is Robotech's introduction, which will be given by Shlomo Moran in about a minute. The second section is ARCHIBUS version 21.2, which was introduced last year. Probably some of you folks are already using 21.2, but I do want to talk about some of the key features that we had introduced with this version of the product, which could be very helpful for optimizing your existing business processes. The third section is ARCHIBUS version 21.3 demonstration scenarios. I'll be talking about the key features that we've added to the product, which is 21.3, using some of the demonstration scenarios, so you can relate these new features in your day-to-day activities. Last but not the least is I've spared 15 to 20 minutes at the end of this presentation to talk about the questions and answers. Please use the chat window and submit your questions to David Nicholson during the course of this presentation, and I'll try to answer those questions at the end. Shlomo, please take it away.
Thank you, Jay. Thank you, David. Thank you, everybody, for attending and for your time. I hope you will enjoy and benefit from this seminar. I would like to start with just our mission statement. People that are with us for many years know we automate facility management operations to increase efficiency and reduce cost, and our main mission is making you successful with ARCHIBUS and Autodesk applications. We are with ARCHIBUS and Autodesk over 25 years, actually. I think it's about 28 years now. And we have even some clients that are with us that long. So thank you again, everybody, for attending. Jay, can you move on to the next slide, please? The presentation today will be for ARCHIBUS version 21.3. I'll not get into that, but there are just many enhancements on almost any aspect of this of the software. But I think that one highlight that that exists there is the mobile, and you'll see a lot of mobile enhancements. So I hope that next year will be the year of the mobile applications with ARCHIBUS, and anyone that it makes sense to move to mobile will do that. So again, the webcast will be in mute mode, and you can type questions in the chat mode, chat box, and we'll all answer them online after that. And by email, if you want, you can send questions to support@robotechcad.com or give us a call at any time. Now, after the call, if you want to look more into the ARCHIBUS version 21.3, please go to our website, and you'll find there first of all, a complete preview guide that you can download. Pretty comprehensive. Many pages will take you step by step to all the enhancements. And then there is also a live test drive installation of ARCHIBUS 21.3 with a sample database that you can play with, kind of a sandbox for you to play with. Same thing with a mobile emulator, so you can go and work on that and practice. And this comes with all the help files of version 21.3. If you have any difficulty during doing that, please send us anything to support@robotechcad.com or call us. When you send to support@robotechcad.com, there is a team of people that are going to receive it, and one of us will call you back or send you back an email. Next. All right. Just a quick review to those of you who do not know us that well or did not use all our technical services. I just want to review them quickly. We are your technology partners, and we would like to be the first point of contact when you run into any issue in CAD or CAFM. We provide, of course, technical support, but also system deployment, consulting and training by WebEx or on-site. We have a training center that you can see in the picture in Hoboken for Autodesk products and ARCHIBUS products. System customizing, best practice coaching, database integration, content development, which means actually developing your database, drawings, field surveys, and everything that you may need. Troubleshooting and repair, on-site professional help for either production, development, system administration, etc. And of course, tech support by phone, web, email, and on-site. So thank you again for participation. And Jay, please go ahead.
All right. Thank you, Shlomo. Thank you. Okay, so jumping on to the next section, which is ARCHIBUS version 21.2. So I do want to talk about some of the key features. This version of the product, as I said earlier, was introduced last year. And some of the key enhancements to this version are as follows. One is we really changed the entire user interface. We wanted to make sure that when users logged into our system, it was very easy for them to navigate through the entire system and find what they're looking for, whether it's any reports, whether it's any data or any processes. They can find all that information very easily. And so with 21.2, what we introduced was home pages. Now, home pages, they consist of a lot of different kinds of reports, alerts and notifications, performance metrics, depending upon the user's profile. So for example, if a user is a space manager, he will see all the reports and alerts and notifications depending upon his role within the organization and nothing else. So this makes it very easy for the user to navigate through the entire system. On top of it, we also added a lot of content to our help section, such as presentations and videos. So if in case any of the users got lost during this navigation, they can quickly go to the help section and find that video or presentation and then move on. And last but not the least is the performance metrics framework. With 21.2, we also introduced this amazing new, really powerful framework, which is known as the performance metrics framework. With that, users can use that as a tool to understand their existing business processes and also use that as a tool to make or provide recommendations in the near future. Let's take a very quick one example. Say, for example, the facilities department wanted to understand their space, and they wanted to see how effectively and efficiently they were utilizing that space. They can very quickly log in and look into the occupancy rate. By looking at the occupancy rate, they can quickly find out where do they stand today in terms of using their space. And they can also look into the trend analysis and find out what they should be doing in the near future to optimally use the space that they already have. The second thing that we introduced in the space planning and management module was the new space console. Now the new space console could be used by users such as the space manager, space planner, facilities manager to do two things. One is manage the physical space, and second is manage the occupants in that space. So they can look into their building information, their floor information, room information, their organizational information, but at the same time, they can also look into how many employees reside in a specific floor, who's sitting where, what is the vacancy plan, what is the occupancy plan, and so on and so forth. In the building operations module, we introduced a new console, which is the building ops console. The building ops console is a one-stop shop for the supervisors or the maintenance managers to manage all the work orders from end to end. So they can look into all the work orders by their statuses, how many work orders are in process, how many work orders are put on hold. Not only that, but from this one console, supervisors can also estimate, they can schedule, they can issue work orders. They can look into whom the work order has been assigned to. They can look into all the work orders that have been escalated just from this one single console. Really powerful. My personal favorite is the new mobile framework apps. In 21.2, we also introduced 4 really powerful apps and enhanced the already existing 21.1 apps. We think, here at ARCHIBUS, we think that mobile technology, mobility solution is going to be one of the biggest things, one of the biggest disruptive forces of the future. And with ARCHIBUS's 21.2, we have added a lot of amazing features to the mobile platform. But wait, that's not it. In 21.3, we have added a lot more to the mobility solution. And so what I'll do now is I'll go through some of the demonstration scenarios to illustrate those new features that we've added to the new product, which is 21.3. So let's start with the space planning and management module. Now in the space planning and management module, we have added a lot of new features. And what I'll do is I'll go through 2 different scenarios. I'll go through two different demonstration scenarios to illustrate these new features. So the first scenario is the space occupancy scenario. So say for instance, one of your space auditors or space surveyors, he's out in the field conducting survey. All of a sudden, he bumps into an employee who's sitting in an office. However, when he looks into his mobile device, he finds out that that specific office is actually vacant. So using ARCHIBUS's Space and Occupancy mobile app, he can very quickly put that employee in that office. And not only that, but he can also sync that information right from his mobile device into the ARCHIBUS database. So the ARCHIBUS database is always up to date with the most recent information. Simultaneously, the space manager or the facilities manager who's sitting at his desk can review all the changes that are taking place in the field. So let's look into a video which illustrates the same thing. Now this is the new Space and Occupancy mobile app in 21.3. As you can see, a lot of things have changed. You can see that the top bar, the color theme has changed. The icons are more prominent. You can easily see what you're doing in a specific screen. But going back to this specific scenario, the space surveyor can see the floor plan and he can look into he can start the survey. Now while he's conducting the survey on a specific floor, he can very quickly select a specific office. In this case, he's selecting 264D and look into the detail of that specific space, such as where does that office, what is the location of that office? So he can look into the building code, he can look into the floor code, he can look into the room code. But at the same time, he can also see that right now, this office does not have any employees. However, since there's an employee who's sitting in that office, he can quickly add that employee to this specific office, which is 264D. The only thing that he really has to do is he has to find that employee in the ARCHIBUS database. In this case, it's Jenny Lamb. And then he has to assign this employee to this specific office. Once he's done with it, he can very quickly close this survey, or he can sync this survey so that the ARCHIBUS database is updated simultaneously. Now the space manager or the facilities manager who's sitting at his desk can very quickly pull up the space planning console and review all the changes that are taking place in the field. In this case, you can use the workspace transactions feature that ARCHIBUS has to offer to review all the, track the history of the changes, of the allocation changes that have been taking place. So he can see that 264D is actually occupied today. However, if he went 1 week back in time, he can see that 264D now is actually vacant. So this is how we can see and track all the changes, whether it's the space allocation changes or whether it's the occupancy allocation changes over time using the space planning console, sitting right at his desk. Let's talk about the next demonstration scenario. The next demonstration scenario is called the survey floor expansion. Say, for instance, a new floor came online in a building. Now, since it's a new floor, it does not have any organizational details allocated or assigned to it. And it is the facilities department's responsibility to allocate space to all the divisions and departments on that specific floor. However, in this scenario, the department heads, they have decided that all the employee allocation will be done by them and not by the facilities department, which, by the way, the facilities department is fine with. In return, what they have decided is that they will send out a team of surveyors or auditors to capture all the employee allocation in the ARCHIBUS database after the fact. Now, once they capture all that information, they can again use the space console. They can use the performance metrics to look into a lot of different kinds of, or pull up a lot of different kinds of space reports, space-related reports. So now let's look into that video as well. So the first thing that, of course, I want to show you is the new space console. Now, in the new space console, a couple of things to keep in mind. One is you can look into the space information, your space inventory, and you can also look into your occupancy information. Down here, you can see all the buildings and floors that you have in your portfolio with its associated space metrics, such as what is the capacity of that specific floor, what is the occupancy, what is the room count, and so on and so forth. Down in the bottom, you can see all the organizational information, such as the divisions, departments. If you wanted to see the room category and room type, you can see that information as well, whether it's by building or by floor. You can do that. Now let's jump back to the demonstration scenario. Now in the scenario, a new floor came online in a specific building. So in this case, say for example that new floor is 03 and it came online in the BOSMAT building. Now right now, since it does not have any allocation, this floor looks vacant. It does not have any details allocated to it. However, from this one simple console, the facilities manager can very quickly start allocating space to all these divisions and departments. So from the left-hand side, facilities manager, he can select any of these divisions and departments, and he can very quickly start assigning them on this specific floor plan. Now keep in mind that this specific floor plan is coming from your AutoCAD drawing. Now whether your AutoCAD drawing is polyline or it's not polyline, the system will allow you to pull in that AutoCAD drawing and populate that in as a flash file in ARCHIBUS Web Central. And the good thing is your ARCHIBUS Web Central and your AutoCAD drawing will always be in or remain in sync. So if in case you made any changes to the ARCHIBUS Web Central side of the house, it will automatically update the ARCHIBUS, your AutoCAD drawing, and vice versa holds true as well. Now in this case, you can see how easy it is to allocate space to any of the divisions and departments on a specific floor plan. It is simply, you have to drag and drop, simply click on a specific department on the left-hand side, and simply drag and drop on the right-hand side on a floor plan to allocate space. Now before committing any changes, the facilities manager can review all the pending assignments and then commit changes. As soon as he clicks on the Commit Assignments button, the ARCHIBUS database is updated with all the changes. On top of it, once all the changes have been made, once the allocation has been done, the facilities department can also pull up some of the information, can pull up reports such as how many rooms were allocated to a specific division on a specific floor. So in this case, you can see that the Human Resources Department has 8 room count. and these are the human resources departments. You can see that the software solutions department has 33 room count, and you can see that the blue is the software solutions. And so it becomes very easy for the facilities manager to pull up any of these reports after the fact. Now, going back to this scenario, now after the facilities department, after they have allocated space to all these divisions and departments, the department heads, they will now start allocating space to their employees. Now, once they are done with the allocation of space to the employees, the facilities department has sent out a team of surveyors or auditors to capture all that employee information in the ARCHIBUS database. So the auditors can again use the Space and Occupancy Survey mobile app and go out on that specific floor and start capturing all the employee information. So they can see this new floor, which is BOSSMED 03 on their mobile device, whether it's their tablet, whether they're using their mobile device, they can use anything. They can also use an Android platform, or they can use an iOS platform. But they can very quickly zoom in, zoom out. They can click on any of these rooms, and they can look into all the information, and they can start adding employees to that specific room. Once they add an employee, they can either make that as their primary location, or they can make that secondary location as well. They can go back and they can sync that information and update the ARCHIBUS database to reflect the most recent to reflect the actual situation in the field. So that's how they can capture all the information very quickly. And once they capture all the information, the space manager or the facilities manager can pull up the occupancy plan for that specific floor and look into all the rooms or offices which have been occupied. He can look into all the offices which are still vacant for future allocation. So just to highlight these new features that we've added to ARCHIBUS version 21.3 in the Space and Occupancy Survey mobile app, one is that it supports space transactions enabled or disabled. Now, whether the organization has chosen to use workspace transactions or not use workspace transactions, they can still take advantage of the Space and Occupancy Survey mobile app. Second is these auditors or space surveyors can look into the pre-survey room and employee information. Before they go out in the field and conduct the survey, they can look into the pre-survey information so that they know exactly what they're getting into. Third is redlining. Now with the redlining capability in the Space and Occupancy Survey mobile app, the space surveyors or auditors or space managers or space planners can mark up a drawing, sync that information into the ARCHIBUS database for the space managers to further review those marked up drawings. Some of the other features that we've added to the Space and Occupancy Survey mobile app, one is auditors can edit the capacity of a specific room to reflect the actual situation. They can also add or edit an employee on the fly using their mobile device. They can also add a primary location or a secondary location of a specific employee. If in case the employee is not in the ARCHIBUS database, they can still add that employee using their mobile device and add that employee into the ARCHIBUS database on the fly. They can edit the space transaction records. So if in case any of the organizations, if they're using or taking advantage of the space transactions feature, they can make any changes to the space transactions record right from the mobile device. They can also split the ownership of a specific room by room category and room type. This is especially helpful in the educational setting environment, wherein a specific room, 50% of the time, the room is used as a lab space, but then the 50% of the time, the room is also used as a classroom space. They can split the ownership of that room right from their mobile device if they have to. So those were some of the features that we have added to the Space and Occupancy Survey mobile app in version 21.3. Now let's jump to the second module that I want to talk about, which is the Building Operations module. Now in the Building Operations module, we've added a lot of features to our Maintenance mobile app. So what are those features? Well, I'll illustrate those features using 3 different demonstration scenarios. The first demonstration scenario is called the self-assigned work. Now, say for instance, all the work orders have been assigned to a work team. Now, the work team members or all the craftspersons belonging to that work team can see that common list right from their mobile device and also self-assign work or select any of those work orders and assign that work order to themselves. As soon as they do that, it will disappear from the common queue and will show up in their own work to do. After they see that work, they can update the work order by updating the labor hours, by updating the parts, tools, any additional resources that they consumed in performing this, in performing or completing this work ticket. Let's look into how it looks on the mobile device. So the first thing that I want to show you is right off the bat, an employee within the organization can very quickly report a maintenance problem. In this case, say there was an issue in the network, the employee can either log into the ARCHIBUS Web Central from his mobile device or from his desktop or his laptop and report this maintenance problem. The only thing, of course, he has to do is he has to select the type of problem and enter the description. Once he's done with that, he can click on Submit button and the request or the work ticket will be routed to the appropriate work team depending upon the service level agreement. In this case, the work request was assigned to BOSSMED work team. Now, for any craftsperson belonging to that work team, if they wanted to see the common list of work orders for that team, the only thing that they have to do from their mobile device is click on the sync button. As soon as they click on the sync button, the common list appears. And as a craftsperson, they can multi-select those work tickets and assign it or self-assign it to themselves. As soon as they self-assign it to themselves, it disappears from the common queue and it appears on their own queue of work to do. As you can see, that network issue work ticket now appears on their own device, on their own queue. They can select that work ticket and they can start updating all the information such as the amount of hours that it took to finish this task. Now, one of the features that we've added to this maintenance app is called the start and the stop function or the stopwatch function. And the stopwatch function, before the craftsperson starts to perform or starts to do that work, they can hit the start button and the system will record the date start and the time start. As soon as the craftsperson finishes the work, they can hit the stop button and the system will record the date finish and the time finished. The other thing that the system automatically computes is the actual hours. Based on the time started and the time finished, the system will automatically compute the actual hours so that the craftsperson does not have to remember that and it just becomes easier for them to keep a track of. Once the craftsperson updates all the information about that work order, he can hit the complete button and sync that work order into ARCHIBUS Web Central for the supervisor to review it before he closes it out. In the building operations console, in the ARCHIBUS Web Central, the supervisor can pull up that work order and look into the detailed information, such as when was it requested, what was the problem, who completed the problem, how much time did it take to complete the problem, and compare the estimated labor hour to the actual hours to find out the efficiency of that specific craftsperson. If there were any photos attached to that problem, the supervisor can also review the photos. To complete this whole cycle, the maintenance manager can also use the performance metrics dashboard or the framework to pull up a lot of different KPIs, such as how many work orders were completed on a monthly basis. He can also see, so here he can see that 470 orders were completed this month, but he can see that that is 80 work orders less than previous year. And he can see that the work completed, it has been constantly decreasing or reducing, which is not a good sign. So this means that the efficiency of the work teams that he's managing has been decreasing too. So you can look into all these KPIs and make strategic decisions moving forward. The second addition, or the second demonstration scenario, is to supervise work. Now, a lot of times, supervisors, they don't spend a lot of time behind the desk. They have to be out in the field to manage their work team or to manage their craftspersons. So with the maintenance app, with the 21.3 maintenance app, supervisors can do a lot of things right on their mobile device. What are some of those things? Well, they can review service requests that are coming into the system. They can estimate. They can schedule. They can issue. They can complete. They can close out all the work orders right on their mobile device. So they don't have to spend a lot of time behind their laptop or behind their desktop, and they can still stay out in the field and improve the productivity of their entire maintenance department. So let's look into that video of how it works. Now, the first thing that I want to show you is that right off the bat, an employee of the organization can use Workplace Services Portal mobile app to report a maintenance problem. So say, for example, an employee named Jay, he went into the restroom and he found out there's a leak in the restroom. Using his mobile device, he can report this maintenance problem. The only thing that he has to do is he has to select the type of problem and he has to put in or plug in the description. So very quickly, he selects the problem, which is plumbing, and he writes down the description of that problem in the bathroom. And once he does that, he clicks on submit, and as soon as he clicks on submit, the problem will be assigned to the appropriate craftsperson within the organization. At the same time, the supervisor, he came into the office in the morning and he's sitting at his desk, and he opens up the building operations console, which is a one-stop shop for managing all the work orders end-to-end. In this case, he sees that new work order which was just created or submitted by Jay, which is plumbing. However, when he clicks on that work order, he finds out that there is not a lot of description, and he cannot estimate or schedule this specific work order because there's not to back that up. So he decides that he will actually go out in the field to do the estimation himself. So using the mobile device, the first thing that he does is he clicks on the sync button to see all the work orders that appeared on his building ops console on his mobile device. Once he does that, he can click on the plumbing work order, which was just submitted by Jay, and he can look into where this problem is located on a floor plan. Once he does that, he goes to that restroom very quickly, and he starts with the estimation process because now he can actually see what the problem is. In the estimation process, he estimates the trade that will be responsible for finishing this task, which in this case is plumbing, or the plumber, and he also estimates the hours that it will take to finish this specific work order. After he completes the estimation, the next thing he does is that he also schedules this work order right on his mobile device, which is very easy to do. Simply click on the schedule button and select the craftsperson that he wants to assign this work order to. In this case, he decides that he wants to assign this work order to Valerie Harvey, and he very quickly does that, saves that information, and goes back. Oh, but at the same time, he also decides that he also wants to attach a photo since he is physically present at that location, and so that it becomes easier for Valerie Harvey to finish this work. So he attaches a photo, and then he issues this specific work ticket. As soon as he clicks on the issue button and he syncs his mobile device, the status of the work order changes from requested to issued and in process. Now, Valerie Harvey goes out in the field, he finishes the work, and the supervisor can now review all the changes that have taken place. He can then finally close out the work order and look into any of the reports if he wanted to. The third is preventive maintenance. In preventative maintenance in mobile maintenance app version 21.3, supervisors and craftspersons can do a lot of things. One is they can locate work if they wanted to. The second is they can also redline any of the comments. So if in case they wanted to redline, say for example there was an issue with one of the subcomponents of an equipment, if they wanted to highlight that subcomponent, they can do that right using their mobile device, sync that information back into ARCHIBUS Web Central for the supervisors to review it and act on it as quickly as possible. So what are the new features that we've added to ARCHIBUS version 21.3 Building Operations Management module in the maintenance app? One is craftsperson can self-assign work using his mobile device. Second is that in order to update the labor hour, they can use the start and the stop function. Third is in the maintenance mobile app, craftsperson or supervisors can multi-select multi-select work orders. They can view documents, whether it's a PDF, whether it's PowerPoint, whether it's Excel sheet, whether it's Word doc. They can view any of these documents on their mobile device. So if they're out in the field and if they have to perform preventative maintenance work on a specific piece of equipment, they can very quickly pull up the equipment's manual. They can pull up the schedule on their mobile device or on their tablet and perform the work effectively and efficiently. They can also redline, and they can also barcode scan. Barcode technology has been added to the core mobile framework. So for example, if the craftsperson wanted to pull up all the work orders against a piece of equipment, he can very quickly do that using the barcode scanning technology. He can very quickly scan a barcode of a piece of equipment, and simultaneously he can see all the work orders which have been created against that piece of equipment. Some of the other features that we've added to the maintenance mobile app in 21.3, from a supervisory standpoint, supervisor can approve, can estimate, can schedule, can forward, reassign, update, complete, and close work orders or work tickets right from their mobile device. So those were some of the features that we've added to the maintenance app in version 21.3. Now let's talk about the lease administration application in ARCHIBUS Web Central 21.3. One of the key features that we've added to the lease administration application is called the Lease Management Console. The Lease Management Console makes it easier for the lease administrators to look into all the leases and accounts that they have to manage on a daily basis with its associated information, such as lease contacts, all the costs associated to a specific lease or an account, any communications and documents associated to a specific lease. They can see all this information very quickly in the Lease Management Console. On top of it, a lot of times what happens is when a lease administrator comes into his office in the morning, he really doesn't know what are the problems he's going to face. And so with the Lease Management Console, the console allows him to look into all the alerts and notifications. So he can very quickly look into all the leases and options which are about to expire in a month, in a week, in a year, very quickly, so he can act on it as soon as possible without incurring any penalty fees or late fees or so on and so forth. So let's look into how this lease management console looks like. Now this is the lease portfolio dashboard. Lease portfolio dashboard enables the lease administrators to pinpoint a specific lease on a map. So in this case, you can see that the lease administrators can very quickly pull up a specific lease on a map and look into some of the basic information about that specific lease. Now the way this works is ARCHIBUS is integrated with GIS, and that's how it pulls in this information and pinpoints this lease on the specific map. On top of it, ARCHIBUS also enables, or this specific lease portfolio dashboard enables them to look into some of the lease information. And they can also drill down into the lease portfolio console if they wanted to look into the comprehensive list of all the accounts that they have to manage. So right off the bat, the first thing that they see are all the leases and options that they are managing on a daily basis. So here you can see all the information about the leases. They can also use the extensive filter console and look into the 10 newest leases which have come on board. So here you can see all the new leases which have come on board. Or they can also see all the leases which are about to expire. So in this case, the manager or the administrator sees that there are 3 leases which are almost about to expire. He can look into the detailed information about that lease and make sure that they either renew the lease or get rid of that lease altogether. On top of it, you can see this extensive filter console that we have in the lease portfolio console for the lease administrators to query the data in the way that makes sense to them. So they can look into the leases by location. So if in case they wanted to pull up a lease by state, city, or site, they can do that very quickly. If they wanted to pull up a lease by contact information, they can do that as well. If they wanted to pull up any leases associated with a building, they can do that, or associated with a structure or a specific account, they can do that as well very quickly. So in this case, let's take an example. Let's say, for example, the lease manager, he wants to see all the leases or all the accounts that he's managing in the Philadelphia region. He can very quickly click on the filter console and look into all the leases and options that he's managing in the Philadelphia city. By clicking on any of these specific leases, he can drill down into the detail of that lease, such as the lease abstract or the basic information about the lease, the contact information for that specific lease, whether it's the building manager, whether it's the security personnel, whether it's the IT personnel. He can look into all that information very quickly. He can also look into the recurring cost. So how much are we paying towards rent? How much are we paying towards taxes? How much are we paying towards utility bills, maintenance, and so on and so forth? Also all the clauses, who's responsible for what duties. So who's responsible for snow removal out in the East Coast, or who's responsible for basic maintenance work. He can look into all those things. He can also look into the communication log items between the realtor, between the portfolio manager, and so on and so forth. He can look into the suites, and he can also pull up a floor plan and see this information graphically if you wanted to, very quickly on a floor plan, so he can visualize exactly where that lease is. On top of it, he can also change the view and look into a multi-tab view for the same lease. So in this case, you can look into context, recurring costs, clauses, options, amendments, communication logs, suites, documents, whether it's the lease agreement, and so on and so forth very quickly. If in case he wanted to make any changes to this specific clause or lease, he can also do that by opening up that form. So that's the lease management console. The other thing that we have, the other key feature that we've added is in the project management application in ARCHIBUS Web Central version 21.3. That feature is called the project management console. In the project management console, project managers or facilities construction project managers or finance managers, they can look into all the projects that they're managing end to end. It is a one-stop shop for these users to look into the overall performance of all the projects. They can also drill down into a project and look into the schedule, but at the same time they can also look into the financial side of the house for that project, such as all the invoices that are being created against a project or against a work package, all the commitments or remaining commitments. From a schedule standpoint, project managers can look into the Gantt chart and find out exactly how the schedule of that project is. And so let's look into that new console that we've added to the project management application. It's really powerful, and it really does a lot of things from this one single console. So first thing, right off the bat, the project manager, when he logs in and when he clicks in the project management console, he can look into all the projects that he has the access to, or all the projects that he's managing very quickly by their statuses. So he can see how many projects have been approved. He can see how many projects are issued and are in process. He can see how many projects have been put on hold and what is the reason behind that hold, so that he can very quickly find out the problem and act on it as quickly as possible so that the project can continue. He can also look into the alerts for all the projects by clicking any of these stars right next to the project. So he can see that this specific project has a lot of different alerts. So he can see in this case that work packages for this specific project have been are still out for bid, and the vendors have not bid on it, have not submitted their bids. So he can look into that information, and he can see that this is not normal, this is something that shouldn't have happened, and he can contact the vendor who is responsible for submitting the bid and find out what the issue is. So very quickly he can look into all those alerts. On top of it, he can also drill down into a specific project and look into the detailed information about that project, such as the commitment progress status report on the right-hand side. He can see all the work packages for that specific project. He can look into how many work packages have been completed so far, how many work packages are still remaining. He can look into what was the contracted amount from a financial standpoint. He can look into if there were any change orders that were submitted by the vendors and how many of those change orders have been approved. He can look into the revised contracts. If there were any invoices that were created, he can look into that information as well very quickly. And at the end of the day, he can look into the commitment remaining for that specific project. On top of it, just for that project, he can look into the alerts, as I said before. He can look into the milestones for that project. He can look into the team members working on that specific project. He can look into any communication log items between the team members or between the vendors for that project. And he can also look into all the documents and drawings associated to that specific project very quickly from this one single console. From a financial standpoint, as I indicated earlier, the facilities construction project manager can look into all the invoices by the vendors created against the work packages in a project. By clicking on any of these invoices, the facilities construction or the FCPM guy can look into the detail about that invoice itself. Who is the vendor, what is the work package, what is the invoice number, when was it billed, what's the due date. All that information can be looked into very quickly. Not only that, but from an invoice standpoint, he can also look into the status of these invoices, whether the invoice is still put on hold, whether it has been sent to finance for their approval, whether it's closed out. So if in case the vendor comes to this project manager asking for money, he can see that the invoice has already been paid in full. So he can look into that information very quickly. From a schedule standpoint, he can look into the action items for a specific project. In this case, you can look into all the action items for that project by their dates and by their statuses. Green check marks indicate that the action item has been completed, and any unchecked action items indicate that that task still needs to be performed. So very quickly he can see that information very quickly. On top of it, if in case he wanted to change the status and only see action items which are in progress, he can do that. And now very quickly he sees all the action items that are still in progress. He can also see the schedule on a Gantt chart for a specific project. Here you can see the Gantt chart, and it's amazing. It looks really nice. He can keep on to that specific project. But that's not it. From this one console, the project manager can also pull up a lot of different kinds of reports, which otherwise he would have to navigate through the system to pull up that report. we have made it very easy for the project managers to pull up these reports, such as you can see all these reports that you can see on the right-hand side. View any contracts for the project, action summary, estimated cost for the project, the design cost, actual cost, what's the variance, and all those things can be seen very quickly from this one single console. Let's take an example. Let's say the cost by work packages report. By clicking on the cost by work packages report, the project manager or the FCPM guy can look into all the work packages for that project and also look into the costs associated to those work packages and compare the budget to the actual cost or the actual spend. Very important from a financial standpoint to understand how healthy a project is. And ARCHIBUS offers that report right off the bat in this one console. So really amazing console. The other addition, key feature that we have added to 21.3 product is in ARCHIBUS Web Central Energy Management application. In the energy management application, we have added connectors which are now out of the box. So organizations can pull in data, whether it's the building automation systems data, BAS data, from various other sources into ARCHIBUS database for reporting purposes. So for example, if the organization wanted to pull up the utility bills, by monthly, by weekly, by annually, they can do that very quickly in ARCHIBUS's energy management application. Also, they can import any meter data if they wanted to from any other systems that they have in place into the ARCHIBUS database for, again, reporting purposes. If they wanted to compare or analyze the consumption by buildings, say, for example, they wanted to see what was the energy consumption in their headquarters compared to the energy consumption in the office building that they have in Shanghai, they can do that very quickly in ARCHIBUS's energy management application. The other key feature that we've added to the ARCHIBUS suite is in the reservations management application. One is we have updated the Workplace Services Portal app in the mobile framework version 21.3. The second thing that we have done is we have added a new feature in the ARCHIBUS Reservations Web Central application known as the multi-room scheduling application feature. And we have also enhanced our Outlook plugin support. So let's quickly look into the feature that we have added. So this is the Workplace Services Portal app. This is a self-service enterprise app that could be used by any of the employees within an organization to request various services like reservations, like hoteling, like reporting maintenance problems, locating employees' rooms, etc. But we have updated the reservation search form in this app. Two things we have added. One is we have added the with external guests function. So if in case a specific employee had a meeting and he had external guests in that meeting, he can select a conference room which is designed to accommodate external guests. And the system will only show him those conference rooms which can accommodate external guests and nothing else. The second feature that we have added to this specific reservation search form is being able to select room attributes. Say, for instance, the employee wanted to only see those conference rooms which had inbuilt Wi-Fi or had inbuilt 55-inch plasma TV. He can select those attributes, and the system is smart enough to only show him those conference rooms which have those inbuilt room attributes. So really amazing thing that we have added to the reservation search form. And the other thing I'm not going to show you the video, but multi-room scheduling feature enables employees. Say, for example, and let's just take a very quick example. say the team lead wanted to arrange a meeting, and his team comprises of 5 different employees, out of which 3 employees are in the headquarters building with him, and 2 employees, they work remotely in China and in India. With this multi-room scheduling function, he can set up a meeting for all the employees. And the system is smart enough to recognize the time zone that the employees are in China and in India, and still manage to create a meeting for everyone together. So here you can see the example of how we have updated the reservations search form. You can add the external guest. You can select any of the room resources or room attributes that you want. The other thing that we've also added is in that same form, you can also add employees or add contacts. So if in case you wanted to invite employees or invite external guests, you can do that very quickly in the mobile application. And we have also added something which is known as the check-in feature. So 30 minutes prior to the meeting commencement, the employee can click on the check-in function and make sure that he has checked in. This enables proper utilization of all these conference rooms. If in case the employee does not check in 30 minutes after the meeting is supposed to start, that specific conference room will be vacated for someone else to reserve. And again, these parameters are configurable, so if in case you want to configure any of these parameters, you can configure them as well. So that was reservations application in mobile and in Web Central. The last thing I want to touch upon is BIM, or Building Information Modeling, and how it relates to ARCHIBUS Web Central. We have spent a lot of time in designing a tool which will enable organizations to pull in their BIM data into ARCHIBUS Web Central, or ARCHIBUS database, for reporting purposes. And with 21.3 Revit extension, you can do exactly that. You can bring in your Revit model and its associated information or data, such as schedules and manuals and building space inventory, all that information into ARCHIBUS database, and you can pull up all those reports in a 2D format in ARCHIBUS Web Central. Last, I would like to leave by saying that ARCHIBUS really has done a lot of things to make it easier for its user community. And some of the advantage that we have, or we think that we offer over our competition, are as follows. One is that we really offer a consolidated solution. So whether an organization is trying to manage its space, or whether it's trying to manage its maintenance work orders, or whether they're trying to pull in any of their energy data, they can do all those things using this one platform, which is ARCHIBUS, without having to have 3 different silo systems, which of course eats up a lot of your resources and a lot of money. So with ARCHIBUS, it reduces cost, it reduces the resources that it will take to manage all these 3 different tasks or functions. By leveraging the facilities management data within ARCHIBUS database, you can visualize all this information on a floor plan for better visualization. BIM connectivity, we have design tools which will optimally enable you to connect your BIM model to the ARCHIBUS database and exchange information back and forth. One of my favorites is providing an integrated mobile solution. Mobility solution is one of the biggest things, and ARCHIBUS offers a lot of different apps that will enable the organization to manage different functions or different business processes right from this one mobile framework. Last but not the least is ARCHIBUS connectors. ARCHIBUS connectors enables organizations to link ARCHIBUS database to any other databases that they have, or any other systems that they might be using. So for finance, you might be using a different database or different system, or for human resources or HR, you might be using a different database. You can link ARCHIBUS database to all these different databases and pull in information and exchange information back and forth using ARCHIBUS connectors. And these are some of the advantages that we think we have over our competition. Thank you so much for taking some time out. I know there's a lot in 21.3. If in case you want a deeper dive on any of these features, please contact Robotech, and they should be able to help you out with any of these features. Again, I would like to thank everyone for taking some time out from their busy schedule and listening to what's new in ARCHIBUS version 21.3 features. Thank you.
Thanks, Jay. We do have a couple questions. I'm going to try to get to them right now before we wrap things up. If anybody else has any questions, please send them to me in the chat window, and I'll get them over to Jay. Just going to try to get a couple of the questions queued up here. There was one at the very beginning about in 21.3, can you track who made the changes? I'm going to take D. Gordon off of mute, and perhaps if he wants to ask that question and provide some context, we can go ahead and see what he has to say. Hello, D. Gordon.
Yes.
Oh, hi. If you want to just ask your question about what it was in reference to, I think it was at the beginning of the webcast.
Correct. When people are making changes to the occupants, will it state who made the changes?
Sure. So, and Shlomo can add if he wants to add anything to the answer, but the short answer is yes. If, for example, the space auditor who's out in the field, he's making any changes to the occupants, or he's making any changes to the space allocations using his mobile device, he sends that information back into ARCHIBUS Web Central. Manager will know that this was the space auditor who made that change. So yes, the short answer is yes.
Okay. Thank you.
And there are more even traceable methods, such as turning on audit trail for any change that you make in ARCHIBUS. So it will register transactions one by one. Any change you make will be registered by time and user, especially if you use using a login with a name and or any type of login actually will register the person's name that made that transaction.
Great. Thanks for that answer. The other question was regarding redlining. Jay, could you just provide a brief, definition of what you mean by redlining?
Sure. So redlining capability is a part of ARCHIBUS Mobile Framework. And with redlining, what a user can do, whether it's a space surveyor or whether it's a craftsperson, what they can do is they can pull up a floor plan, or they can pull up an asset symbol which is residing in a floor plan on their mobile device, and they can mark up that drawing by using various asset symbols that we have out of the box. And if they wanted to add any notes to a highlighted space on a floor plan or a drawing, they can do that right on their mobile device. Once they sync that information, or once they sync that red line, which is associated to the activity log item, once they sync that, it will appear or will be saved in the ARCHIBUS database. So if in case the space manager or anyone who's sitting at his desk, if he wants to see the redlining, he can review that red line and make any necessary recommendations.
Let me just add a few words to that. This is a feature that was asked for some time and by many people, and great that ARCHIBUS added it because of two reasons. One is that many times the surveyor is not the one that is authorized to make a change in the database on a drawing. And the second is that many times there is a layout change as well that is being revealed in this survey. So it gives the excellent communication tool between the survey team and the production team. So that's a great thing, great achievement.
Thanks,
Thank you,
Shlomo.
Shlomo.
Okay, I have another question. Okay, that was yes,
Any
there
other
is
questions?
there is a recorded version of this presentation. It will be eventually once
Jay,
it's
can you say something about space transactions? I'm not sure that everyone is familiar with the concept. You talked about it on the space management part.
Sure. So workspace transactions is a feature which was introduced a long time ago, probably in version 20.2, 2 years ago, 2.5 years ago, 3 years ago. But workspace transactions feature enables organizations to keep a track of and manage the changes that are taking place in a specific space, whether it's the physical space or the occupants. Let's take a very simple example of what workspace transaction does. So say, for example, Jay Shah, an employee, he was sitting in Office 101 on 1/1/2010. On 1/2/2010, his office was moved from Office 101 to Office 102. Now, what Workspace Transaction feature does is it enables space managers or facilities managers to review that change or that transition that took place from Office 101 to Office 102. So they can look into the trend of how Jay Shah has been moved from 2010 all the way up till 2015, and then keep a track of the history of all the changes that are taking place. So that's what Workspace Transaction feature is. Now, how it relates to Space and Occupancy mobile survey app. Space and Occupancy survey app is in 21.1. People who did not use Workspace Transactions were not allowed to use ARCHIBUS's Space and Occupancy Survey mobile app. However, that has been changed. So in 21.3, even if organizations they do not use Workspace Transactions feature, they can still take advantage of ARCHIBUS's Space and Occupancy Survey mobile app to conduct occupant survey and conduct space survey.
great.
Thank you, Jay. Just a quick addition to that is that space transactions also allow secondary seeds because every transaction is a time dependent or records the time that the change occurred. That when you move someone or make any change in occupancy, also you can have for the same person multiple seats, multiple locations, primary and secondary. So that's also another benefit of that feature.
Absolutely.
Jay, I sent you a
Any other questions?
email.
David? Jay, did you receive anything in your box?
I sent Jay a question.
I guess not.
Do any versions offer the capability to have that?
I sent Jay. Hello, can anybody hear me?
So actually, that's a really good question. So one of the questions that we have is, can craftsperson complete inspection checklists instead of using the work request process? This is something that ARCHIBUS does have an answer to. So in the assessment mobile app in version 21.3, what we have done is we have added questionnaires to the activity log item. This is something that you cannot do in the maintenance app, but this is something you can do in the assessment mobile app, wherein you can actually create questionnaires by equipment standards and in ARCHIBUS Web Central, and when the assessor or the engineer who's out in the field, when he's assessing that piece of equipment, that checklist or that questionnaire will pop up on his mobile device, which then could be used as a checklist as well. So that is something that is done in the assessment mobile app in 21.3, but not in the maintenance mobile app? But that was a good question.
Thanks, Jay. This session was recorded, by the way. Once we produce it, we'll be sharing it with Robotech, who can make it available to you at your convenience. It'll take a few days for that to take effect, but we'll be sharing that material with Robotech once it's completed. Are there any other questions anyone else has at this juncture?
If there are no more questions, I would like just to have a few reminders. First of all, we will post that recorded session on our website and send everybody that attended. We'll send an email with a link. Also, some reminders. One, please let other people in your organization know about our auto news, our newsletter, monthly newsletter. You receive this newsletter, and that's one of the reasons you knew about this event and could register. So please let other people know about it. And remember the stuff we have on our website and play with it, these sandboxes. Ask questions. Remember, support@robotechcad.com. We'll respond to any call or email that you send on these issues and any other issues you have with ARCHIBUS. If you need additional presentation for any topic, we can conduct a focused presentation for any specific module or just on the mobile devices or anything that you want to focus on. Please let us know. We'll be happy to do it. And I want to thank David and Jay. Jay, thank you very much for the excellent presentation. We'll see you soon on the next one.